therein, but as expressed by our analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Let's get into the stories. This one is a really amazing one. We're celebrating. We just finished celebrating our women.
We're not even done
football.
celebrating.
We're not done celebrating.
Exactly.
Okay, we've not finished. Let me know who's finished. We're still celebrating our women football winning clinching the 10th WAFCON title, and then we have the women's basketball team, the Tigers, following their historic triumph at the 2025 FIBA Women's AfroBasket Championship in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, and they clinched their 5th consecutive and 7th overall title with a commanding performance at the Palais des Sports at Trenchville, reinforcing their dominance in African women's basketball.
There's on several counts. The victory of the Tigress is far bigger than WAFCON, if you ask me.
Really? Okay.
In terms of relevance, in terms of everything. Number one, the Tigress is being coached by a woman. And don't forget that the last time they were in the Olympics, the woman performed superbly. And I think she was rated as one of the best women basketball coach in the world. So that is something very, very big. And I expect something not less than what the female footballers got, in terms of accolades, in terms of reward, in terms of gift.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and there is equally something else, I have always been, a champion of this, gender equity thing, because you see, we are losing a lot in terms of manpower resources, in terms of human resources in Nigeria by neglecting the women folk. And you see, the Tigress, the Tiger, and and the Super Eagles, how much have they given us in the last 10 years? Absolutely nothing. In the last 8-10 years that we have been, in the Olympics, but it's the women that have been bringing glory to Nigeria. And if there is anything, whatever it's worth doing is worth doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, this is another wonderful opportunity for Mr. President, and Nigeria at large, to show recognition and, to support the women folk, because, now we have football. That is an industry on its own. We can equally grow basketball as an industry. And in fact, you have more opportunity in basketball than in football. The kind of quality, the quality scholarships that comes from, schools abroad, if the moment you can play basketball is huge, it's tremendous. It's socially uplifting, and in terms of economic, how am I going to pay the benefit? It's huge, it's immense. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for, Mr. President, to register Nigeria's, register that game in the mind of young Nigerians,
because again, I was just going to ask you how the popularity of basketball in Nigeria, because growing up, I recall that a lot of us played basketball at the federal schools. Let me put it: the unity schools, some of them had basketball courts and all of these things, but it wasn't a very popular thing for the women folk at the time. So if you look at the popularity is really, really dwindling. And then what can we do to actually boost the popularity of the female basketball and basketball development in general?
Let me shock you. You say, look, if we get the data, you would discover that basketball is almost toe-to-toe with football in Nigeria.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
But it's not well
talked
about.
I'll tell you why it appears that way. You see, in the secondary schools these days, basketball is big, is huge. You need to come to stadium. Come to Kwara State, Agbazika Stadium, weekends, every day. Come and look at the basketball court. In fact, apart from football, the other, games that I know that is regularly played is basketball. But you see, the thing is that, and the good thing about basketball is it is coming in through the school system. You have secondary school conferences. You have, it's always attached to schools and it's always attached to scholarships and the rest of them. So, but because, football is a hoi polloi thing, it's everybody, even you don't need to go to school much. That is why it appears as if, football overwhelms everything. But basketball, really, if the figures comes in, and if the kind of media hype that we are supposed to, that we give to football, if we give just a quarter of it to basketball, my brother, what we'll be talking about is something totally different. You know, do you know the kind of money that's in basketball? NBA alone.
Huge.
It's huge. It's
Very,
massive.
very huge. Yeah.
You know, and you see what China is doing with basketball now. See what even Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is moving mountains to bring basketball into their country. You know, so I think this is something. Again, if you look at it, there has always the problem with basketball in Nigeria has always been, the problem of these politicians in sports. Now, I'll give a very good example. I think it was between 2004 2006, there was an effort by Dangote to take over basketball, sponsorship of basketball. And I learned that one of the conditions he gave is that, look, what I want is that I want to start paying every basketballer at that time, at least at the very least you get is 200,000 naira. At that time, I'm talking of you imagine what every basketball player in the Nigerian basketball league gets. And Dangote wanted to his arrangement is that the money should be paid directly to the basketballers. But it was scuttled by the politicians in the basketball, because they wanted to control the money. So that has always been the problem. That was what happened to Unique Classics, FA, the athletics. That was what happened because, at every point, they were always at the loggerheads with, AFN. They are not getting value for money. They give you money and you don't organize a transparent athletic, meet. So at the point, we are forced to withdraw. That has always been the problem. I think to a very large extent, let's sincerely hope that, with this fifth, this fifth, winnings that we have in basketball from the women folk, maybe there might be a bit of more political will, for the president to look at those iconic, football or those iconic activities that bring good name to Nigeria. There must be a kind of legislation that makes, corrupting the system. Maybe ICPC too can come in, it corrupting the system because it's about the glory and the name of your country. So you must do everything to make sure that it is protected from all this kind of shenanigans that we see NFF and the rest of this, athletic bodies do.
Well, let me ask you, how do we inspire, young girls, especially those in public schools? Because again, if you look at, talent discovery, you see that most, private secondary school, privately run schools, provide some of this, basic facilities, maybe like a mini football pitch, like an AstroTurf, you have a basketball court. You even have a lawn tennis court in some of the schools, and we enjoy some of these things, in the unity schools. But for government schools today, hardly can you. Do they even have a football pitch?
Well, for private schools, that is, ironically, the government-owned schools are the ones that have the space where you can do things like that. I think. It's a problem with. I think the problem is more for policy direction. The Sports Commission and the SUBEB and UBE. Must do something because sports is part of psychomotor education.
Very true.
You understand? It's part of psychomotor education. I know that SUBEB in Kwara State have been doing a lot in terms of integrating sports into the education system. I know they've spent a lot of money. In fact, a few days ago, sometimes about 2 or 3 months ago, I was with Professor Daramaja, and he showed me, the sporting equipment they have acquired for football and from a number of sports. But, my advice is that let them go for this low-hanging fruit, because we are talking of an educational policy that allows for people to learn trade. Sports is a kind of trade, so you can for events like basketball that are money yielding, that are money spinners, that are human development oriented. You can adopt it as a kind of skill, as a kind of trade. In fact, that is what America does.
Very true.
Yeah, sports is like skills. You go and acquire skills because it's life-changing skills. So I think policy direction should be geared towards that. That is the only way we can bring in more women and even more guys into basketball playing.
All right, 0807-777-9927 is number to call to be part of the conversation this morning. And we'll celebrate our women football basketball team, and we hope they are also accorded the same celebration that we give to the women football team as well. Let's move to another news story this morning. And just before then, this is to remind you that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at FlowFM 927. So you can get on any of these apps and get in on the live action happening in the studio right now. We have a caller. Let's take this call before we move to another news story. Hello, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Danielle.
Good morning to you, Mr. David.
Yes,
please go ahead with your comment. Fine, thank you. We have Dio and Nicholas is in the studio as well.
Okay, I'm my regards to them too.
Thank you. Good morning.
I want to collaborate with what Mr. Nicholas has just said. One thing I just want to add is that the problem with mini sports started in 1982. When this issue of 633 system was introduced into secondary school. In 1982, I was in Form 4 after that time. You see, we have all this basketball, squash, volleyball, and everything in our school humanity. But now, all those things are no more there. I think if we just have to go back to the drawing board. You see, what we need is that we need people who are knowledgeable and who are ready to sacrifice, and not those people that, what am I going to gain? We need people that, what can I give? You see, in the US, I think the basketballers are earning more money, if for more than all these Ronaldo and others, if not for the endorsement. You see, in Nigeria, we can make sports to be an avenue for young guys and young people to make their own money, so that the economic impact will be improved. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your contribution this morning. 0807 777 9927.
No, to a very large extent, I think I might be tended to. I tend to want to agree with what Mr. Davis said. You see, that 6334 thing. I have made this point before here that most times, people who go into governance to make policies for us, tend to be more selfish than altruistic in the kind of policy they bring in. I recall in those days, when there was a special report I did on 6234, you understand? And I had to speak to some scholars, and they said that Babs Fafunwa introduced that.
Yes, Professor Babs Fafunwa.
Professor Babs Fafunwa introduced that policy. And one of the reasons was that he had this, dislike for the English system. That was what we used to have. This Form 1, Form 2, you get to Form 4, Form 5, but he preferred the American system, and I think it had to do with something that had to do with when he wanted to do a PhD or something like that in the UK. It was a big story then. You understand? So he came back, and he went to the United States of America to do the postgrads and the rest of them, and he came back and I said, well, this is far better than what we have in the UK, and without studying or putting safeguards for sustainability, that 634 came on board. 634 was essentially meant to be a hands-on kind of educational system. We were the first set of 634 in Kwara State. But yes, I recall that when I did Form 3, then we had to do 4 terms instead of, So part of those things were, my former GSS1 class was turned into the tech hub, where you have all these machines and the rest of them. We never visited those machines one day. It was left there to rot and scavenged. I'm talking of government high school, and anybody that is within my 1990 set will bear me witness, So, and of course, football and basketball was on that. We had basketball. We had a basketball court in government high school there, right there. I think it's part of what has now become the smart school that you have now. That part of them were, cut off, and it has become a smart school that you have there now. So those sporting infrastructure are gone. You understand? So, there is a need to, we need to really, like Mr. Davis said, that is, it's something that we need to really look at. We just introduce policies here and there, and we don't look at the sustainability. At the end of the day, how sustainable is going to be? Do we even have a wherewithal? Is it rather than improving on what we had in the past, or just bringing a wholesale new policies that just, disrupt virtually everything?
Very sure.
It's rather sad, really.
Well, sport is quite a very big thing that should engage youths and young Nigerians. But again, if you look at so many, states across the country, there are hidden talents and even undiscovered talents. But so again, it goes back to my question that do we have visionary, people in position of authority that understand the use of sport and how they can engage the people? Take a look at what you just said. Sports is one big deal in America, and basketball is one of the biggest deal. Then the American football is another big one.
Yeah.
In fact, I recall that at the Unity School, one of the representatives came to our school, trying to introduce American football to Nigerian students.
Yeah.
But again and again, where did all of that end?
It didn't end more because there wasn't sustainability. There wasn't, there should be a kind of backup. You see, when you see things like this, I expect that government at both state, local, and federal level to key in. Because you see, sports is the biggest employer of labor. It's so massive.
Quite very true.
You understand? So, I ordinarily, the common sense thing is that, look, where you can take your youthful energies away from vices, you should invest
in sports. Yeah.
Exactly. But what do you see? You see that our government don't do things like that. Rather, they face something else, entirely. Politics and the rest of them, like we are going to see very soon. We are talking about politics. How many people have called in now? But let us introduce something that has to do with ADC, APC, and the rest of them. You get calls all over the place.
We're about to get into it.
All
right. Let's move into another news story on politics. Well, we have the former Labour Party presidential candidate in the person of Peter Obi saying that he has reiterated his commitment to serve only one term of 4 years if elected president. Now, Obi said that meaningful change does not require extended time in office and cited some previous leaders like Abraham Lincoln and Nelson Mandela who made
John F.
Kennedy as well, who made lasting impacts within limited terms.
The term, yeah.
And, what they were able to achieve within that time frame. And then the presidency has gone ahead to respond to him. That's Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Naniga. He criticized Obi on his X handle, labeling him a serial promise breaker, as he cited Obi's decision to seek re-election as Anambra State's governor in 2010, and also his defection from the All Progressives Grand Alliance. About even when they assured him to remain in the party, about contesting and all of that. Now he is arguing that such actions cast a doubt on Obi's current vow to only spend a term in office.
There is something that we need not take away. An Obi single term thing is a big threat, to a lot of presidential aspiration. Because you see, number one, that single term means that it allows for the rotational presidency thing. And what it allows you to do is that the young talks can prepare for the next 4 years. And again, what it does is that it will not allow the current administration to consolidate on 8 years. So definitely, it's something that, you should expect Bayo Nanuga to respond to. You understand? But again, like I said, there are some very strong points that he made there, that it's not about how long you stay in somewhere, but it's how meaningful you impact on that place. It's both true in politics and in life. You understand? Then again, this issue about whether, he left APGA and things like that. You see, like I keep on saying that it is always good we speak to facts that we know very well. As a matter of fact, Obi actually started from PDP, not APGA. You understand? He actually started from PDP. He has said it countless number of times, and there has been a lot of corroboration on that. People can fact check me on that. He actually started there. So when he wanted to run for the presidency, of course, the issue of how to win the primaries and the issue of money involved, from what I learned, at least I learned this from one of the major players in PDP, in Anambra State that I was close to at that time. He said he was asked to bring a humongous amount of money, and the man said rather than spend that money, that he will use it to do meaningful campaign, and he went off to APGA. Of course, the rest is history. So, of course, there is legitimacy, in the call by Onanuga that, okay, you promised that you are not going to leave Abga. I don't know where he made that promise. Now this is what he's saying openly. This is the first time he's openly promising something. As the case of that program is mere speculation. That is the simple truth. Of course, opinions are free. There were facts, they are sacred. This is an open promise that he has put in black and white. The issue of whether he promised Ojukwu and things like that, those are purely speculations. There has never been anything except people coming out and making claims. You understand? So, but of course, again, you see, this is not to say that what he has said, that I'm fully in support of it or not in support of it. But the fact is, people that are aspiring to go to office have the right to make promises. You understand? Whether they will stick to it is a different thing entirely. You understand? So,
okay, but let's really look at the things that he said he could actually achieve in the time frame 4 years. He said security reforms, improved healthcare and education, economic transformation through agriculture and technology, and also public sector accountability. How feasible is achieving all of these things within 4 years,
and
genuinely speaking?
And looking at his track rate over 8 years in Anambra as well, too.
Okay.
And then putting it against the big country, Nigeria, to achieve all of this in 4 years.
Well, you see, let us get something very clear here. That is an open-ended statement. It's open-ended. It's not even, what I expect Nigerians to do is to further interrogate him on that. So what are those things that we should see for the first 4 years? If you say security improvement. So what is your measure? How do you measure whether it has improved or not? How many deaths are you going to cut down on? How many kidnaps are you going to cut down on? How many, armed robbery are you going to cut down on? You should give us, this is what I expect Nigerians to ask them. Now, like D just asked me, like when he was in Anambra State, how was he able to do that? You understand? Of course, there are people say a lot of. In fact, there was one the brigade commander at that time. Was it Enenche? Enenche said that he was there when the man came, and this was what he did. He gave visible, but translating that to a national level is something very, very Herculean.
Right. Let me hold you on there. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, Daniel, this is Davis calling from Chao.
All right, Mr. Davis, please go ahead.
Yeah. You see, our man, Peter Obi, he was very careful. I respect his opinion on one time, but I don't want him to make promises of making impact in 4 years. You see, a government is like when you are parking to a house and you are asked that when you get to that house, what are you going to do there? He said you'll be dancing and be eating. What of if he met hyenas, lions, elephants, phantoms in that house? Will he be eating and dancing? You see, the problem of Nigeria is multidimensional. It's what in the electoral campaign promises. You should just tell us that he will do the best he can. He gives the available resources in his capacity. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Davis, thank you.
And actually, I think his promise is based on the rotational thing. That is why he made that stand very clear. That after 2031 is the turn of the North. Then you see, look, we shouldn't sell ourselves short in Nigeria. If Mandela did something like that, was it as Mandela solved all the problems in South Africa?
No.
He didn't solve all the problems. But he's a statesman today, All
right, sorry to bother you again. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning, Termina, and the guest in the building.
Good morning to you as well. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Mayor from Baby.
All right, Mayor, please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, for me, I think that I must say this in regards to the big tigers. I know this will generate a lot of reaction, considering what the president did for the Super Falcons. But I must say this: we cannot compare the football and basketball in Nigeria, because in Nigeria we all know how Nigeria carries. So let us wait on what the president will do to big titles. So let's wait and see how it will pan out.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, it's interested in the Tigress story.
Yeah. We also have a comment on here on WhatsApp. I'm Tunde Uwerunonye from Tanke Ilorin. Commendation and a call to action on grassroots sports development. I wish to heartily commend our women folk for their recent outstanding achievements in both football and basketball. Their performances have not only made the nation proud, but also reinforced the potential of Nigerian women in sports. On this note, I appeal to the present administration to revive the Catch Them Young initiative in our schools. Encouragement of sports should go beyond the mere provision of sporting facilities. There should be a deliberate policy to ensure that school managements actively organize and enforce periodic inter-house sports competitions, as was the practice in the past. This was especially impactful in Kwara State, where many sporting legends such as Olakpade and many others were discovered at the secondary school level. Reviving this culture will undoubtedly rekindle the sporting spirit in our youths and help discover more talents for national and international glory.
Well, that's a very
really good.
These are very good points. Yeah, these are very good points. Yeah, and enough can't be said. You can't say enough about the need to grow sports. Like I said, is the biggest industry that can pull people out of poverty at a very fast rate.
Yeah, and then this Catch Them Young initiative.
Oh yeah, it boils down to what we're saying. Where do you catch them? It's a school.
Young, yeah.
Exactly. So that's where you catch them.
All right, back to our previous conversation.
Yeah, like I keep on saying. You see, look, Nigeria is in dire need of heroes. We need heroes as much as possible. When a man aspires to do something that is noble, I think, it is something that we shouldn't just preempt. It is something that we say, wow, that's a very good one. So how do you intend to do this? Instead of just waiting and saying that it is not possible. Look at the case of Soludo. Look at what Soludo said. That anybody that promised one time should demand a psychiatric test. I mean, that is what a governor said.
Let me also ask you this. Again, if you look at because it does look like the North, speaks with one voice. In most cases,
it appears.
That's what I said. It appears. It does look like.
But it's not really true.
You see that. I think last week somebody made a statement that if somebody from the North stands up, every other person stands down, and then I think we're talking about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and then others having to step down for him, as an elder from the North. But again, how do we perceive that of the South? Because again, you have a Southern incumbent president, and then you have an opposing Southern candidate as well too, or aspirants. Let's put it that way. Is that not in a way denying the South the chance again just based on the rotation and then allowing the North, because we've heard stories news filtering from the North that there's that call that allow the South complete their term so you can return to the North.
Okay, now when Yaradua contested, Atiku contested against him. They are both from the North. So where's the one voice that we're talking about? You understand? So you see if we are talking about being united, you understand, we have to look at the frictions within the South itself. Because if you look at it from outside and not look at it in that is in total in itself, you understand, there is that tendency that you might overlook a lot of issues that have to do with South. Yes, people are saying that allow the South to consolidate. The South as in what? The South as in with a lot of issues that has to do with, have you noticed how, the way arguments in the Southern Belt has been so ethnicized? So what do you say to that? Are we just to pretend as if it's not happening? Now, those are the issues. People who want consolidation shouldn't be playing the ethnic card. Let me state it very clearly and let people hear. If you know you want to consolidate the South, please don't play the ethnic card against the South. So the moment you start it, then the other tribal enclaves within the South have a legitimate right to come up and say, okay, yes, we have the right to contest it. So if it's going to ruin your chance, then you will learn properly not to put ethnic issues at the front burner. The North don't normally, why it appears as if they are one, they are monolithic, is that you don't hear a Birom, that it is Birom's turn. It is Angwar's turn. It is the Buguma Kagoro's turn. You don't hear those. These are very big tribes. It's not the thief's turn. You don't hear things like that in the north. But the moment it comes down south, then you're not hearing that my tribe is better than you. Your tribe is better than mine. You are more criminal-minded than us. And things like that. So when you think like that, you start questioning why there is division. There must be division unless the people, whose section appears to have the president, try to play the big brother. They have the president. How do they relate with their brothers in the south? That is the question that we should put forward and let people answer honestly and objectively. So you have people within the presidency who played ethnic card and they were still given positions in the presidency. How do you expect people from the other side, where I come from, how do you expect them to view that presidency? Now, this is a honest conversation we need to have. We don't need to beat around the bush. And that was why I said there is a big elephant in the room that we always, because of political correctness, we don't want to address.
Well, it's a good conversation, but we'll just leave it here for today. It's a good start.
It's a good start to the week. Honestly, so
and we look forward to more conversations like this all through the week. But Nicholas, thank you so very much.
Thank you
for coming on the program this morning. The views expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or any of the staff therein, but solely as expressed by the resident analyst Nicholas Uwerunonye. My name is Dayo Adeyemi,
and I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us. We hope for you to join us tomorrow as well.
Here to light up the sea.